Back in I think 2012, Felix and Groeningen made a fantastic movie called The Broken Circle Breakdown. And if you haven't seen it, go see it, but now he's back with a new movie, entirely in English, with Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet, which made me curious but a tiny bit hesitant. Because I love Steve Carell and sometimes he's great in dramatic roles, but sometimes his comedic goofiness comes through and I have trouble taking him seriously. That being said, he's really good in this, but my bigger worry was Timothée Chalamet, because I haven't really been that impressed by him in the past. He always looks bored and disinterested, and I have no idea why people seem to like him in Call Me By Your Name. Well, he's not bad in this either, he's pretty decent actually. But I'll be honest, without Steve Carell in this, or someone as good as him, I don't think I would have cared that much. He's sort of an emotional conduit for me with this movie. Remove him and the connection is lost. The movie though looks fine and the story's fine and everything's sort of fine. But Steve Carell kept me engaged. He really carried the movie for me. There's some other stuff here and there too that was great, but it's mostly sprinkled throughout. I mean, I feel like the only other consistently great thing was the soundtrack. But other than that, nothing really stood out that much, unfortunately. So what's the movie about? Well, it's a tale of addiction and a father's love. It basically follows this kid who's an addict, and his dad just tries to understand it and come to grips with it. And the dad really struggles and goes to great lengths to try to understand what's going on with his son. And it shows that addiction is a dark hole and it goes deep and affects everyone around. But here's the thing, I already know that. I've seen this before. I've seen addiction in real life, I've seen addiction in movies a million times. And this thing doesn't really bring anything new to the table. I mean, it seems like a pretty realistic and dark take on it. It definitely doesn't glorify drug use or anything like that. But it also doesn't show anything I haven't seen before. It mainly focuses on the rift between the son and the dad and how they both struggle with the situation, in their own ways. Which I guess isn't the usual angle, but it's definitely not anything new either. And this is apparently based on a couple of books written by the real people, the dad and the son. So all of that makes sense, but I just don't know what I was supposed to get out of it. That addiction is a real thing and it affects a lot of people? Yeah, no shit. And I'll be completely frank here, when the credits rolled, I couldn't help but to feel like I just watched a 2-hour anti-drug PSA. Because at the end of it, they cite a whole bunch of statistics and talk about the lack of funding for anti-drug programs. And that really didn't help me like this thing any more than I did. But I did like it to a certain extent, again, mainly because of Steve Carell. And it's not a poorly made movie either. As I said, everything's mostly fine. Nothing really stood out as bad. But it's just not that great, and it's one of these movies too that just make it really difficult not to call it Oscar bait. So would I recommend it? Not really, but wouldn't not recommend it either. I'm sorta on the fence with this one as far as how much I actually liked it. In one moment I feel like, it wasn't that bad, I kinda enjoyed it. And then I'm like, well, I don't know what I really got out of it. It wasn't really that compelling. So, go watch it if you like Steve Carell, I guess. Or don't. I'm not your dad.